Hello and welcome to the session today on NSERC USRAs here at the University of Saskatchewan. My name is Merle Massey. I'm the coordinator for undergraduate research initiatives at the University of Saskatchewan, and the department that I work in is Research Acceleration and Strategic Initiatives, and that's in the Office of the Vice President Research. So it's my job to support undergraduate students right across campus, no matter what discipline, no matter what college, who are interested in gaining some experience and doing research, scholarly, or artistic works at the University of Saskatchewan. But having said that, today's session is specific to the NSERC USRAs, and I want to give you guys a bit of an overview of what they are. This isn't something that we've done very often before, but I get a lot of student questions around what is an NSERC USRA, so I want to cover that today. And for those of you who know what it is, and you're just curious to know what changes might be coming in for this coming year, I'll tell you about that as well. So off we go. So as we gather here today, we acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respect to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. You'll see below that I actually have a personalized land acknowledgement that I created working with the Gwinnett Center of Teaching and Learning. If ever you get a chance to do that, I do recommend it. It's a great afternoon well spent. So today, first I'm going to talk about what is NSERC, for those of us who may not know, and then what is an NSERC USRA, and then I'll go through some of the mechanics, some of the changes for 2022, our application procedures, our timeline, what adjudication looks like on campus, and a little bit about the Indigenous NSERC USRA. So hold your questions till the end and we will take them then. But that is what will happen at the end. So first of all, what is NSERC? Funny story for you. So I'm a historian by profession. And so most of my funding that I've ever had at the university comes from the one in the middle, Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, which we shorten up by calling it SHIRK. And my mother used to spell it S-H-I-R-K. Yeah, I didn't appreciate that. But anyway, that's so the Canadian Institutes for Health Research, CIHR, SHIRK, Social Science and Humanities Research Council, and the National Sciences and Engineering Research Council. These are what we call Canada's tri-agencies. These are three separate arm's length funding mechanisms where the federal government puts in funding that then researchers from every discipline across Canada can apply into one of these three funding buckets to receive funding to conduct research, scholarly, and artistic work. So of these three tri-agencies, the only one that has a specific fund or a specific program to support undergraduate students is NSERC. So that's the program that we're going to be talking about today. So the NSERC USRA. So I wanted to start here just in case someone didn't know what NSERC was, National Sciences and Engineering Council. And so this is their main website, and they fund the majority. They're the largest of the three tri-agencies, and they fund the majority of Canadian science and engineering, natural science and engineering. So they do have a big website. There's lots and lots of information there if you're looking for more, a better understanding of what NSERC is and the various programs that they offer. So the USRA is a particular program that we're going to be talking about today. It is the Undergraduate Student Research Award. And you'll see that I've taken the word award and made it a slightly different color because truthfully, although the USRA used to be more like an award, it no longer is. It is an assistantship. It is aimed to be support, financial support to hire a student to work in a research lab. So NSERC is making some very clear guidelines in that direction. This is a direction that University of Saskatchewan went last year for sure, and we are continuing down that path. So it is not an award that a student applies for and wins and, oh, wow, I have $6,000. That's great. It's not like that. It's actually, so the application process is actually held by the professor. So the funds are held by the professor, they're held by the university, and then they are paid out to the student. When you apply for an NSERC, and we'll get to this in a few minutes, but it's a very interesting application because both the professor supervisor and the student both apply for an NSERC USRA, and they are not transferable. So if, let's say, a professor leaves or stops being a professor or something to that effect, and the student has won an NSERC USRA, it's not transferable. Same if the student chooses to go off and take a different job working road construction or something in the summer because they're going to make $22 an hour, then the NSERC is not transferable, even if it had been won. So there are some ways to do that before you accept the award that they're still transferable. We'll have a wait list, but I'll talk about that in a few minutes. At the U of S, we only run the NSERC USRA in the summer program. And so you work with a faculty supervisor on a project for 16 weeks, and it has to be 16 weeks duration full time. And like I said, at USask, we only operate NSERC USRAs in the summer. This is what how NSERC describes it. The point of the award is to nurture your interest and fully develop your potential for a research career in the natural sciences and engineering. This is about research skill development. They are also meant to encourage you to undertake graduate studies in these fields. So these are considered to be connector pieces and seed funding in a way to encourage students to think about the path of research and to consider going into graduate school. And as I said, the amount is $6,000 from NSERC, but the rest of the awards are always more than that. The rest of that award has to come from your faculty supervisor, from their existing research funds, their faculty startup funds, their own NSERC awards, whatever kind of funding that they have can be used to top up the $6,000 from NSERC. NSERC has a whole website on the Undergraduate Student Research Awards. We follow all of their guidelines to the letter. And so take the time to go to the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada USRAs, just NSERC USRA. You will find it on Google, and read through their expectations and the application process. I'm going to hit some of the highlights today, but there are always more questions and there's always more information. And so this is where every single officer who runs the NSERC at the university level, this is where we go for our information. So, you can go there too. So just to let you know that this is all publicly available information. So the NSERC USRA at USask in 2021, I just thought I'd run through a few of the statistics. Last year, our allocation at USask was 63. So we had 63 NSERCs working across the university. That's $378,000. So it's a fair chunk of change. And plus, over and above that, we had 2 NSERC Indigenous USRA awards. And I'll talk about those in a few minutes as well. And just to give you a sense of how many there are across Canada, it's just over 3,000. So 3149 across Canada was the number of NSERC USRAs across Canada. Last year, we had 143 applications for those 63 awards. Even though all of the applications actually go into the NSERC USRA, there's a collected space for you and on their website, and that's where the applications actually go. Even though you're applying at that federal level using that space, it is actually a USask committee that evaluates those applications. So I put together a USask committee, and that's actually in process right now. And the call will be sent out next week. And what we're looking for, if you are interested, if you happen to be a faculty member and you're here on this call and you're interested in serving on that adjudication committee, do let me know and I can send you the application form. You do have to be eligible to hold NSERC funding. So that's one of our criteria, of course. But it is a USask committee that makes the decision. So it's not like you're competing against other students federally for this award. You're basically competing against all the other students at USask who are applying for the NSERC USRA. That's who you are competing against. If you come up in that top, I'm not sure what the allocation is going to be for this coming year, but let's say that it's 63 again. So we come up with a list of who's going to get that top 63, and we start sending out letters of offer. And a student has to actually accept the award. And what we do is that we have a list of our 63, and then we also have a secondary waiting list, because there's always some students within that top 63 who accept other positions or are offered other jobs. And so, so we go down that list and we do have a waiting list. And then we make sure that that list is completely finalized. We do not know the USask allocation for 2022 yet. That should be coming through within the next couple of weeks. So let's take a breath. We're going to talk about the mechanics of this because, quite simply, not everybody knows. For a lot of people, it's their first time. And so we can't assume that everybody knows what this is. I wanted to talk first to those of you who do know what this is and just tell you a couple of things to kind of be mindful for this year. So recent changes to the NSERC USRA in the last couple of years is that the expectation is that this is a job. It's no longer an award. So it must be an offer of employment with deductions and benefits. And it has to align with the provincial minimum wage, and that's at a very minimum. So in Saskatchewan, that's $11.81 per hour. Most faculty, thank goodness, pay higher wages than that, and so they should. Simply because for most students, for 16 weeks duration, this is their entire summer job. They are using this to pay for their following year of school, and they need to and deserve to be well paid for their work. They are 16 weeks duration full time. There is still some flexibility coming into next year. Because of the pandemic, we've had flexibility over the past 2 summers regarding whether or not a student had to be in a lab or on campus and whether they could do the NSERC remotely. There has been some flexibility around that. I don't know if that's going to continue for next summer, but I think it will, at least to a certain extent. So anybody who is awarded an NSERC USRA, we will follow up with that as NSERC reveals more details. The faculty member needs to be eligible to hold NSERC funding, but you don't actually need to have an existing grant. That actually came into effect last year, but it's still something that people aren't always aware of, so I wanted to bring that to your attention. Because it used to be the rule that they had to hold a grant. And so it mattered because sometimes we don't know when the NSERC grants are announced until well into March and sometimes even into early April. So it caused some real timing problems. So that's one thing that NSERC did that made a change, that you need to be eligible to hold the funding. The faculty needs to be eligible to hold the funding, but they don't need to have an existing grant. So for this, particularly for you students for whom this might be new, how to apply for an NSERC USRA, it isn't just you applying, it's you and a faculty supervisor. So if you don't have a faculty supervisor lined up that you could potentially work with next summer, that's your first thing. So you need to find a faculty supervisor. And one of the so on the left, we have a video called Landing an Undergraduate Research Position. I'm not going to play it for you right now, but it is on the Undergraduate Research Initiative's YouTube site. And so write that down or ask me for the link and I can put it in the chat at the end. So at Landing an Undergraduate Research Position, how to approach a supervisor. So it gives some hints and best tips around how to do that, how to approach a supervisor. And then once you've got a supervisor that you've talked with and who has agreed to support your application, and the two of you have had good conversations over what you think your summer project might look like, that's when you work with the supervisor to develop a project, and it has to fit NSERC criteria, which is why I have the guy with the 3 spinning plates, because sometimes that's an interesting, you just have to tweak things a certain way or whatever it is, but you need to make sure that the application that you're putting forward actually matches NSERC's guidelines and criteria. So that's important. So the application process, and I'll get into that, it does require both a student and a supervisor completing the application. That's why you need to have this conversation early and to find a faculty supervisor if you would like to apply for an NSERC USRA. The application procedure. So all applications, as I said, are going to be submitted to the NSERC main portal, and all of the details are readily available on my website. So the Undergraduate Research Initiative website, including all the links for that. So the first thing that you'll have to do after you've got a faculty, yes, they're going to supervise you. You've got a plan kind of hashed out. Maybe you're not finished with all the technical details, but you're ready to, at least, because the student has to apply first. So the student creates, so if this is your first time applying for an NSERC, then you have to create your NSERC online system login. And so you will log in and submit all of your forms first. And then when you're all, and it kicks out a number for you, then you give that number to your supervisor, and then your supervisor logs in and submits the second half. So that's how that works. So there's form 202.1, that's the student side, and form 202 part 2, that's for the professors who submit. You will need your transcripts, and this is important. You need the most recent transcripts. So get your transcripts in January, so that they have your fall 2021 updates on them. They have to be official transcripts. Unofficial transcripts won't work. They have to be official. If you've got transcripts from more than one university, you need to PDF them all together and make sure that it's just one document. You can't submit 4 or 5. You need to do the work to put them all together. And yes, and they have to be formal transcripts. The deadline for submission to that central portal is February 1st, 2022. It's a Tuesday, just so you know, so you can work on it on the weekend, have that one last day to get the finalized things with your supervisor, and make sure that it's submitted by the end of the day on February 1st. The USask selection committee, which I'm building at the moment, will meet in February 2022 to make those decisions. And I can talk a little bit about the criteria that USask typically uses, and I'll talk about that at the end. Actually, I might as well say it now. So the selection committee will take a look at the quality of the project. So the scientific or engineering quality of the proposed research project, the quality of the students' instruction, so the quality of the training that you are going to receive from the supervisor and from the supervisor's lab or research group as part of this experience. And the third thing that we look at are your transcripts, are your marks. You do have to have a minimum 75 average. NSERC is competitive. If you have less than a 75 average, and you and your supervisor still think that you've got a really good research project or you deserve to be put forward, then you just need to make sure that you include that information as part of your application, that you are very clear as to why your marks are the way they are, and to show some justification for that if they are below 75. However, that 75 is an NSERC cutoff as well, and so we would need to go to bat for you on that behalf. It doesn't happen very often. NSERC USRAs are very competitive. But we do select according to our USask allocation. So whatever we get, let's say it's 63 again this year, and then we will develop a wait list. And then as we send out, we will start to notify the awardees. We're hoping by the first week of March, which is sooner than we've done before. That's part of our aim this year. We've moved it to research acceleration and strategic initiatives, in part because we'd like to accelerate that process a little bit if we can. So we aim to have the awardees notified by the first week of March and send out those notifications of award. Then you can let us know whether or not you will accept the award, or if you're going to decline it, and then we can go down the wait list. The NSERC USRA projects will run from May to August 2022. We only run them in the summer at USask. So if you're a student, this is your eligibility. To be eligible to apply for an award, you have to be a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, or a protected person under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act as of the deadline for applications. So that's as of February 1st. So if you're in the process of being one of those, in one of those 3 categories, you have until February 1st to make sure that that's in place. You also need to be registered as of the deadline date, so February 1st, in a bachelor's degree program. And of course, USask is an eligible institution, so that's easy, but you do need to be registered in a bachelor's program, and there are some limitations to that. And you have to have obtained over your previous years of study a B- at USask. It's generally considered to be a 75 or higher. In addition, if you already hold a bachelor's degree and you're studying towards a second bachelor's degree, that's fine. Yes, you may still apply for this award, but you can only hold 1 USRA per fiscal year. So, and a fiscal year is between April 1st to March 31st. And that's the fiscal year of NSERC, not the fiscal year of USask, just so you know. And as I said, at USask, we only do these in the summer. Throughout the course of your undergraduate career here at USask, you can hold a maximum of 3 USRAs throughout. And that's actually, even if you move to another university, NSERC will still have you on record. You can hold a maximum of 3 USRAs throughout your entire university career, and that includes all of your different institutions if you study at more than one. Some of you might not be eligible, and these are the issues of ineligibility. If you're currently enrolled in a professional degree program, such as medicine, a Bachelor of Science in nursing, dentistry, these sorts of things, you are not eligible to apply for a USRA. Mind you, having said that, the College of Medicine has their Dean's projects, so you can apply for those, of course. If you've started a program of graduate studies in the natural sciences or engineering at any time. So if you were ever a graduate student, even somewhere else, and then you decided to go back and do a second undergraduate degree, then you can't apply for a USRA. There's some interesting technical things around that though. If you have completed, if you've already completed all your degree requirements and are no longer registered in a bachelor's degree program at the time of application, then obviously you can't apply. Here's one of the things that you should know though. If you're a student who's in your 4th year and you're going to convocate in June, but you're still a student on February 1st, you can apply. So you can hold an NSERC USRA this summer after you complete your degree. That's still fine. You can also hold a USRA if you're transitioning into graduate school, as long as you don't start your graduate school until September, until after the USRA is over, then that's also fine. So, and we're going to get into this here. So if you happen to win an award, to hold that award, you have to have completed at least 1 year of university study, so 2 academic terms of your bachelor degree. So if you're just a 1st year student now, yes, you can apply, but yeah, it's because to hold the award that starts in May, you will have completed 2 terms of your undergraduate. So yeah, you're still fine even if you're a 1st year student. Some 1st year students do land NSERC USRAs, not as common as upper year students, just so you know. You need to be registered at USask at the time of your application, at least in this term or in the fall term before holding the award. So just make sure that you are actually an active student right now. And you can't have started a program of graduate studies at any time, including, you can't start in the summer. You have to wait until after the NSERC USRA is over. You must be engaged in a full-time basis in research and development activity. So basically during the 16 weeks of this award, it is considered full-time work, and we want you to work on it full-time. There are some special considerations for any student who self-identifies as Indigenous. We ask you to please do so on your NSERC USRA application. There is a spot in an NSERC USRA application for you to self-identify as Indigenous, and we encourage you to do so. Not because it makes it any less competitive, but there are some special considerations. The adjudication process at USask will remain the same. However, all USask Indigenous NSERC USRA applications, if you meet basic criteria and you are supported by the adjudication committee, we will put you forward for awards. And the reason why is because the Indigenous USRAs are over and above the university's allocation. So they will add to our allocation with the same number of allocations as we have Indigenous students. So as long as you qualify and you have a competitive and compelling application, if you do self-identify as Indigenous, that means that we can bring in more students to work at the U of S. So that would be much appreciated and excellent. And the larger we can grow that particular cohort of Indigenous NSERC USRAs, the happier I will be. Some people have been asking, why are the NSERC USRAs moving to RASI? So that's Research Acceleration and Strategic Initiatives. Some of the reasons is that it's a more specific alignment with the SURE program. So the SURE program, for those of you who might not know, is the Student Undergraduate Research Experience. It's a program that my office developed and initiated last year in the summer. So May 2020 is a pilot. We have now run it for 5 terms, and it's highly successful. It's a co-curricular program that we've built as a sort of a support for a USRA or an honors program, or students who are doing capstone or research classes, or even first year research experience classes. So it's a suite of additional webinars and training that we offer that students can then apply for co-curricular credit, and it aligns with the USRA program, particularly in the summer, because in the summer what we do is that we run the SURE program thinking through what an NSERC USRA might be doing. So in May, we concentrate quite a lot on things like how to do a literature search, how to write a literature review, how to conduct a good analysis of our literature review. And then we move through how to do research data management, good practices for research data management, how to have good practices in the lab. We allow students to put towards their SURE credit anything around lab safety or ethics that they have to complete as part of their degree. And then as we move into June, July, and August, we move through the year. So we'll do a lot of things around communications, professional development, entrepreneurial development. And then at the very end of the summer, we always host a symposium. And so students who have completed a full summer's USRA often end up with a research project that they'd like to present, either at a conference or a symposium. And the USask SURE Symposium can be a good practice point for students who might be going to a federal, a national or an international competition. And so we invite all the students to enter the symposium. And so what's happened the last 2 years is that the College of Graduate Studies always sends me a list of all the NSERC USRA students. In this case, it's just moving them right underneath my particular office so that I can support students all the way through. And so, yeah, we want to situate the students more tightly with the office that I run, which is the Office of Undergraduate Research. So that's why they're moving, if anyone's curious. And my last slide of the day is to tell you guys the timeline for the USask NSERC USRA process, just to kind of let you just that broad steps of what's going to come up over the next year. So we aim to have letters out to the department, to all the departments, to let them know about the change moving from College of Graduate Studies to Research Acceleration and Strategic Initiatives, and any of the new information. So everything that I've covered today. So the letter will hopefully go out to departments next week, so December 1st or that first week of December. The deadline has been set. It is February 1st, 2022, and that's the deadline for students and professors to have all your forms uploaded to the NSERC website. And you don't have to wait till February 1st. You can have them uploaded prior to that. That's fine. We also are looking to have the same practice that College of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies had, which is that we would like a memo from each department to come into RASI with your departmental recommendations. So how would you rank the students who are applying for an NSERC USRA from your department, and what your recommendations are? So we will work in early February to make sure that all applications are collated. We will cross-check them, make sure that you're not missing anything. If anything is missing and you get horrified and grumpy emails from me, I apologize in advance. But NSERC makes sure applications that are incomplete will not be funded. So we need to make sure that your application is perfect and that you haven't missed anything or forgotten to upload something, or else you will not get funded. NSERC will pull the funding. So it needs to be exact. Also in February, so after that first week when we make sure that everything is good, the USask adjudication team will meet and will decide and rank on who's going to be offered NSERC USRAs. By no later than the first week of March, we aim to have students and supervisors informed of awards. And if a student declines, then we can go ahead and offer to students on the wait list. And so we're hopeful to have that whole process finished by the end of March, and that we will know exactly who our NSERC USRAs are going to be for the coming year. The final list gets sent to NSERC by May 1st. And just as we did last year, the departments will be responsible for the hiring processes. And so the letter of offer, setting up the funds. So funds will come in from NSERC, funds come in from the faculty. They'll be put into a new account, and that account will be used to pay the student. Basically same process as last year. And then of course, the students will be doing their research projects between May and August next year. And so your project will be underway. You'll be responding to the needs of your supervisor, working on your project, learning all the ins and outs and the fun of research and how research never goes in the direction you think it's going to, and learning how to bounce back and bounce forward. So these are all great skills. All NSERC USRA students will be automatically included in the summer SURE Student Undergraduate Research Experience co-curricular program that my office runs. So you be warned now, in addition to your NSERC USRA, you're going to be included in SURE. Okay, and with that, I'm happy to take on any questions, comments, anything that you might have. I will actually record the questions simply because someone coming in and watching this afterward might be just as interested in the questions that you pose. So I'm going to leave this screen up, and if you have any questions, you may either unmute yourself or put it in the chat, and I will read out the question and answer it. Are there research grants awards for international undergraduate students? There are, Agnes, there are some. Most of the colleges have lesser restrictions because this is federal funding. We have to abide by federal funding restrictions. College of Medicine, Toxicology, oftentimes their undergraduate programs will support international undergraduate students. That's number one. Number two, a lot of undergraduate student positions are actually just funded by faculty, and faculty who hold funding can choose to hire an international undergraduate student of any from anywhere, doing anything, and hire them. There are no restrictions on that. So an NSERC USRA has restrictions, but others don't. Good question though. You're welcome. Where will I share this recording? So all the recordings that come through my office, the Office of Undergraduate Research, we have a website. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I will put the link to our undergraduate research website. We have a YouTube page that is full of resources for undergraduate research. And I'll put the link to the channel, and high recommendation to subscribe to the channel. And there's the link in the chat. Yep. That might have gone specifically to Agnes. Sorry. It needs to go to everyone. There we go. With that, thank you all for being here. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'll stay around for a few more questions if there are a few more that come in. Thank you very much for joining me today.